Good morning. Listen, this morning I would like to share something from my book called The Executive Constitutional Mandate Demystifying the Fountain of Honor Presidential Powers Overreach in Uganda. This book is a tommy, very big, as you can see, and has incredible information. This book majorly covers constitutional law and constitutional jurisprudence, if you like, and covers basically quite a long period of time from the genesis of Uganda, way back, even perhaps before the white person began intruding on our territories by way of the Inception Cause and Order in Council. But it also brings out the history in terms of what was then to the present times as of now. So you are going to find here information that you're not going to find in any other book, and lots of information that is important in terms of understanding and demystifying what we call constitutional law. And obviously, I make credence to constitutional legal gurus in this country, like Professor Oloka Onyango, like Dr. Kabumba, Dr. Noria, and many others. But predominantly, listen to this. This is my dedication in terms of this book. It's called Solus Populi, Solus Vei, meaning the welfare of the people is supreme. And some of the things I talk about, for purposes of introduction and by way of reading, the first thing I would like to ask my readers is to imagine a different president in office. If they support the current president and believe that those who oppose him are actually doing it for partisan or otherwise illegitimate reasons, they should visualize him as a president whom they completely distrust. Conversely, if they dislike the current president, they should conceive the president in powers as someone they support, and that those opposing him are actually acting illegitimately. This exercise is hopeful, I believe, in terms of focusing attention on the underlying constitutional issues rather than upon the wisdom and lack thereof of a particular presidential in terms of policies. So in this book, we're going to discuss quite a lot of information. Let me tell you, listen, for example, I talk about the masking of the truth of Uganda's name, the argument in terms of the flag, the Ugandan flag, why do we have it resembling that of Germany? The argument in terms of the quoting of Kabaka's executive mandate, the birth of what they call the embryonic English law, things to do with the authoritarian executive mandates in terms of the colonial mandates, things to do with presidential decrees. For example, can a president simply wake up one morning and make a proclamation and then becomes good law? Things to do with military rule, things to do with constitutionalism, things to do with what they call the pote comitatus, in terms of whether or not we can actually see armies on the streets of Kampala or even other towns rather than police. Do they have the jurisdiction mandate to do so? Things to do with the pigeonhole constitution, the first Kabaka crisis, the Kelsen theory, the second Kabaka crisis, the third Kabaka crisis that most people are actually not even aware of, the burning of the Masilo, the Kayuga saga, the birthday cake coffin saga. Remember that issue? Issues to do with the meaning of state of emergency, the proclamations, aspects to do with the compulsory vaccination, for example, whether or not you can actually be compulsory vaccinated without your mandate, aspects to do with infringement of the internet, the shutting out of the internet. Isn't it an infringement on the UN conventions? Aspects to do with the abuses, the rape of the temple of justice, like said by former Principal Judge James Ogola, and then politicization, militarization of the government, the joint operations, the aspects to do with the border suckers, the killing of the women in Ansana and Entebbe, aspects to do with requirements of parliamentary approval, whether or not we even have what we used to call the three arms of government checking one another. Do we have those in place today, or do we see an overreach of one arm of government against the interest of others? then aspects to do with when the courts, for example, become more executive minded than the executive itself. Do we see some overreaches in terms of that direction? Aspects to do with religious freedom, for example. The issues to do with the stories of the so-called martyrdoms in Namugongo. Many people don't even know that actually there are more Muslim martyred in Namugongo than actually Christians, all Christians, Protestants, and Catholics put together. Then the aspects to do with, for example, the argument in respect to when the Kabaka had actually contracted gonorrhea with the Baganda call in Dwade Yabazira. Where do they get that analogy? Aspects to do with when one individual actually sued the Kabaka for actually taking his wife. The argument of freedoms of individuals, and this is all documented. We have this documented here. With the Namasole sagas, the Namirembe crisis, the consolidation of marriage of convenience for different parties, the executive, the Buganda question, the crisis in Buganda, all those aspects are discussed here. I cannot have enough time to tell you everything about this in one clip, but look at this book and you find, for example, the debate between religion versus state. We borrow from Roe versus Wade, and then we argue in terms of Kakali Sadiq and Suleiman Isota Mugamba versus Uganda National Examination Board, the aspects of Dimanche Sharon versus Makerere University. All those cases are discussed here, the harmonization of the church and the state. All these pronunciations in terms of what is the legal jurisprudence in terms of constitutional law as we speak in Uganda today. If you're going to look for any book in terms of constitutional law that is as recent as any, in terms of everything compiled together, this is the book, my friend. This is the Locus Classicus. We will also talk about aspects to do with where they say they make desolate and call it peace. Ubi solidinam facit passent appellet. They make desolate and call it peace. Find out what those arguments take about the re-evaluation and analysis of the so-called dream analogy that has been propounded by the NRM government, and whether or not they actually still sticking on their goals, as it were. Aspects to do with the introduction of the 12% exercise duty on data, electoral challenges, infringement, noops, sagas, the debacles between the different presidential challenges that have been overriding this country for a period of time, and even aspects to do with the birth of other powers as we speak today. The likes of Chagulanyi and the likes. So all those are discussed here, and even the debacles that happen between the different presidential, not presidential, but parliamentary elections in terms of the candidates. So you want to appraise yourself by finding this book. This is the best book, I presume, today in Uganda in as far as constitutional law is concerned. So this is the tome. This is what they call the Locus Classicus of constitutional law. So get hold of this book, my friend, and let's demystify the law. Let's do constitutional law. Let's get dirty with the law. God bless, and thank you for your attention.